Call a Garden Grove City Council meeting to order. Madam Clerk, would you please call roll?
Councilmember Beard.
Here.
Councilmember Broadwater.
Here.
Councilmember Jones.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Nguyen. Mayor Dalton.
Here. Okay, at this time, we'll have the invocation by, we won't have the invocation. You want to do a pledge of allegiance? I do anyway. We're going to have a pledge of allegiance by Mr. Broadwater.
Please follow me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, at this time, we'll have oral communications for the council as well as the successor agency. Josh McIntosh.
Good evening, Mayor Dalton, members of the City Council, and good evening to all my fellow residents of Garden Grove. There are a few items I'd like to address tonight. First of all, I'd like to say thank you to everyone who has and who will be volunteering to help beautify the Woodbury Park area. As a person who spends a lot of time volunteering for various causes, I know what a sacrifice it can be, and you can all be very proud of yourselves for being involved. I'm especially proud of the members of the different faiths who have come together to reach a common goal to make Garden Grove a better place to live in. Secondly, I'd like to thank the city for adding a no turn on red sign at Stanford Avenue, as I had recommended at the annual Garden Grove Neighborhood Association meeting. I'd also like to thank appointed Councilmember Beard for attending and speaking with us all that day, even though you're in the hot seat. Next, I'd like to mention that I'm very concerned about the city's redevelopment status and the rumor that we're considering to give the hotel developers an additional $47 million to build on Harbor Boulevard. If my dollar figure is incorrect, then I apologize, yet my concerns remain. I do not feel that the residents of Garden Grove should be forced to pay for the project they never asked for, let alone they can't afford to spend the $300 a night double occupancy to access the Water Park Hotel. Finally, I'd like to share the news that as of today, I've submitted my nomination paperwork and am officially a candidate for the Garden Grove City Council. I want the people of Garden Grove to know that I'm a man of the people, that I do not owe anyone or any special interest groups any favors. I'm a struggling small business owner, a fourth-generation Garden Grove resident, and if elected, I will not ignore your concerns when they're presented to the council. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is there any other cards? Okay, if none, I'll close oral communications. Okay, we'll go to items for consideration.
This on the agency or the...
You know what, yeah. Excuse me, this just got switched here. Okay, we'll recess the council and go to the successor agency.
Thank you, Mayor. Madam Clerk, do you want to call the successor agency meeting to order?
Member Broadwater.
Here.
Member Dalton.
Here.
Member Nguyen.
Here.
Vice Chair Beard.
Here.
Chair Jones.
Here. No consent items, no public hearing items. We do have a couple items for consideration. 4A.
Mr. Chairman and members of the successor agency, prior to the staff report, I do want to attempt to clarify some of the actions that have been previously requested and what we're doing this evening. The recognized obligation payment schedule for the upcoming 6-month period, January 1 through June 30th, is due to the Department of Finance before September 1st. We are bringing these items forward sooner because the developer of the Water Park Hotel has been waiting on the sideline now for many, many months, hoping to receive some letter of determination that the project is, in fact, an enforceable obligation. So we are here to move that process along. Unfortunately, the Department of Finance also changed the process by coming up with a new form. And prior to the Oversight Board approving this recognized obligation payment schedule, they need to do so on the new form, which is yet not available. Tonight, the successor agency will be asked to look at the payment schedule for the next period, January 1 through June 30th, 2013, and then direct staff to forward this list to the Oversight Board to be included on the new form once we get that from the Department of Finance. So with that long introduction, I'll have Mr. Della Longa present the item.
Thank you, Mr. Fertal. Good evening, members of the successor agency and chair. The item before you tonight is to request approval of the recognized obligation payment schedule, or ROPS as we call it, for the period covering January 1, 2013 to June 30th, 2013, and that particular ROPS we're calling ROPS 3. New requirements were created when AB 1484 was passed as part of the state's budget in June. One of those requirements is for oversight boards to approve and submit the ROPS by September 1, 2012. Staff is continuing to dialogue with the Department of Finance regarding several items on the ROPS, and pursuant to their direction, staff has included those items: the Water Park Hotel, Site C Hotel, Site B2 Hotel, and the Burkers Triangle on this ROPS. And now we are bringing this forward for consideration well ahead of the September 2012 deadline, as Mr. Fertal explained. As was the process regarding the first ROPS, once approved by the successor agency, it will be presented for consideration to the Oversight Board for approval once the new forms are released by the Department of Finance. From there, it will be transmitted to the County Auditor Controller, the State Controller, and the State Department of Finance for review. It will also be posted on the city's website. Now, this particular ROPS is a continuation of the ROPS approved for the period covering July 1, 2012 to December 31st, 2012. So there's really nothing new on it. It's just continuing of our obligations that have been approved previously. At this time, staff is recommending that you direct us to submit the ROPS to the Oversight Board for consideration, and that concludes my presentation.
I have a question. Are you calling that ROFs or ROBs?
ROPS with a P.
I'll move the issue.
Second. Call the vote.
Motion received, 5 yes votes.
Okay, item 4B.
Mr. Chair, item 4B is actually a companion item to 4A. We have been notified by the Department of Finance that they had indicated a letter of determination approving the Water Park Hotel project as an enforceable obligation was forthcoming. That sounded like good news, and we hope that that remains true. Because of the complexities of the Water Park Hotel deal, we wanted to be very specific what was being approved by the Oversight Board and what we would expect the DOF to approve all the components of this transaction. So we've separated out the Water Park Hotel DDA and gave it much more detail that we want the Oversight Board to approve those specific deal points. And with that, I'll have Mr. Blodgett highlight those for you.
Thank you, Mr. Fertel. Mr. Chair, members of the Successor Agency, the purpose of this report is for Successor Agency to consider and confirm the enforceability of the DDA dated April 13th, 2010, between the agency and Garden Grove MXD, Inc., which is the Water Park Hotel DDA. This DDA is an enforceable obligation, which is items to be included in future recognized obligation payment schedule, ROPS. The DDA states, in consideration for the construction of the project, the agency shall pay the developer $47 million as follows. First, $5 million is to be paid concurrent with the commencement of the construction of the parking structure. Secondly, $42 million is to be paid 30 days after the latter of the date at which the hotel opens for business. Successor agency intends to issue bonds or other obligations and/or requests the city to issue bonds on the successor agency's behalf to pay the net amount of $42 million to the developer. The successor agency will receive an allocation from the redevelopment property tax trust fund of approximately $4.2 million per year for 20 years to pay the debt service for those bonds. The successor agency is also required to convey the 12-acre site to the developer at no cost. And also, the successor agency is required to pay for agency improvement costs as defined in the DDA, which include up to $1.5 million for costs for street improvements, relocation, demolition, off-site infrastructure, construction improvements, roadway and traffic improvements, and traffic mitigation measures, which these are included on our ROPS 3 form. Also, due to the uncertainty created by the passage of the Dissolution Act, the developer will need to amend and extend the scheduled performance in the DDA to accommodate the delay. At this time, staff recommends the successor agency approve the attached resolution confirming the determination of the DDA is an enforceable obligation properly included on the ROPS 3. This concludes my report.
I'd like to have somebody explain the money stream on paying back the bonds.
The DDA requires the agency to issue $42 million in bonds with the expectation that the debt service on those bonds would have been paid from tax increment. That's the way the deal is currently structured and was approved 2 years ago. So the request to Department of Finance is to have the debt service of the bonds paid from out of this redevelopment trust fund, or essentially the tax increment.
Move the issue.
Before that, a recap of the benefits of the project, real quick. What are we talking about, the money, revenue being brought into the city by this project?
Combined property tax, sales tax, and hotel tax is roughly $8 million a year. Construction jobs, 600 to 700 construction jobs, another 600 or 700 permanent jobs. So it would be quite a boost to the economy. And the other taxing entities that would receive upwards of $2.4 million a year in property tax.
Very good. Second motion.
Wait, hold on a second. And the DDA payout per year is how much? I think I heard $4 million a year.
Yeah, the incoming revenue would total about $8 million,
Right.
and the debt service is about $4 million. So
Okay, so we'll realize
Net of-
about 4.
net $4 million a year.
Okay, thank you. Oh, hold on. And that $4 million a year is for 40 years? 20 or 40?
The debt service is estimated to be 20 years.
20 years. Thank you.
We have a motion and a second, I think.
Call the vote.
Motion received, 5 yes votes.
Any matters from agency members? Seeing none, we're adjourned back to City Council.
Okay, we'll reconvene the city council. Let the record show that all members are present, and we'll go to 4A, consent items.
4A is a consent calendar, but we do need to make an amendment to that item, and I'll let
Okay.
Carlos Marquez describe that.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Vitale. Mr. Mayor, the change that staff recommends that the City Council approve is an increase the warrant amount by $500, increasing it to $7,649.04. The $500 is a credit for the cost for labor, material consisting of seed, preparing the soil for a landscaped area that was damaged as part of a street widening project. And the property owner had requested that that matter be handled in this acquisition, and we're settling with the property owner concurrently.
Okay.
Where's the money coming from to do that?
It's Measure M gas funds.
Any other questions of staff? Okay, hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Call for the vote.
Motion received, 5 yes votes.
Okay. Any comments, Mr. Broadwater?
Well, I think that the cleanup on Cindy was great. We had probably 100 people out from 50 from both religious organizations. It might be more than that. It might have been more than that. I don't know how many houses they were working on, 6 or 7, and plus they worked on things in the park. But great turnout, and it was fun. I hope that we do that more frequently.
Ms. Nguyen.
I just want to commend the volunteers for the cleanup, and hope everyone has a nice summer, because we're not going to be meeting for a while, so hopefully everyone will stay safe and cool for the summer.
Mr. Jones.
Just also like to comment on the neighborhood improvement program just from a different perspective. Obviously, thanks to all the volunteers and everybody, it was wonderful to see so many people out there and all the work they accomplished in a short period of time. I think 5 or 6 dumpsters full of trash and several complete houses got painted and a bunch of other different things, sprinklers and landscaping and whatnot. But also to staff, to our police chief, Kevin Rainey, and also to Susan Emery for coming up with a comprehensive program to dive in and attack these type of problems in the neighborhoods that need them the most. So employing all of our resources from code enforcement to planning to public works and engineering and police and everybody involved to go kind of hit these neighborhoods from all different angles and then bring in the troops and the resources and the materials to actually make a difference. It's really cool to see, and so I hope we can find a way to continue doing that throughout the city. It's pretty cool.
Thank you. Mr. Baird.
Again, I congratulate and commend the people, the volunteer spirit definitely lives in Garden Grove with that cleanup operation, and I commend, kudos to staff and all those who volunteered. So,
Well, it's the city of volunteers, and of course, that's another instance where we lived up to it. At this time, we'll adjourn the meeting.